we need to reject this bill.
Greg Wycliffe is a concerned Canadian who chooses to communicate his political concerns to the masses through the language they understand. Humor.
News tonight at 11. 'Cause you lie, persuade, confuse, can't think about it.
A singer-songwriter known for his parody films, critical of the Canadian government. Greg's new target is Bill C-63, the censorship bill that he says would end free speech in Canada.
It's almost like we've forgotten that we are in a free democracy. And that
He tells me about what motivates him to wage such a fight on his own.
I'm motivated by trying to wake Canadians up and kind of show them what's really going on.
I wrote a song about what it's like to live in Canada in 2023. 1, 2, 3. Kill me.
Ever since I started to make content, I was like a PPC candidate at the time, and I realized that Canadians care more about American politics than what's actually happening here, and I thought, that's kind of a problem. Because they always say, oh, American politics, that affects us a lot. And it's like, yeah, well, also do the politics in Canada, the policies in Canada. That happens, or that's almost more relevant. So it's been a struggle to sort of like be entertaining and kind of try to meet Canadians where they're at, because they really don't care that much about Canadian politics. However, that is changing.
Who live in hotels, who will probably vote for Jagmeet. So kill me.
You said something interesting. You said waking them up. What does the dream look like?
Oh my God. The dream looks something like CBC, what they present, which is everything is hunky-dory in Canada and everything is under control, and the Globe and Mail tells me everything I need to know, and you know, those ethics violations of Justin Trudeau, that's really nothing to worry about. The dream looks exactly what CBC tells you reality is. So, which is very alarming, obviously, because the CBC and now all major Canadian news media is subsidized by the government, which is a characteristic of a communist authoritarian country. Like we have bought and paid for media in China, in Russia, in North Korea. This is something we also have in Canada, and it's crazy that the Canadian public is still like, yeah, just watch CBC, that's everything we need to know.
So will we ever be going back to normal?
No, we will not. And
I mean, it's tough because it's kind of like David versus Goliath, right? Because the major news industry, they have the reach, people are watching them, they have the big brands, people trust them. So it's difficult. You need to I use humor, you need to be entertaining, you need to grab their attention and really, you need to make it worth their time.
Do these vaccines work?
Security? Okay, everyone calm down. The science is settled.
Long story
Okay,
short,
there
it's
will be
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to try and have a greater impact or greater reach or be more relevant than the CBC. But you need to do that, I think, by telling the truth.
Toronto Star here, and I would like to know, what do you do with your hair, Minister? It looks amazing.
Finally, a good question. Thank you for asking.
You can look at success a couple of different ways. There's a lot of people out there who just kind of want to, especially right now in 2024, everybody just wants to hate on Trudeau. And it's very simple to do that. It's very easy to do that. Hey, we got to get Trudeau out. We just got to get Polyev in. And to me, that is like, I was hating and making fun of Trudeau before it was like this popular thing like it is now.
This song's called Trudeau. Royal Mounted Police showed up at my place 'cause of things I said online.
I could probably be more financially successful if I focused on that, but I wouldn't be telling the whole story whatsoever. You know, there's a history in Canada of the Conservative Party leading for 8 years, everyone becoming sick of him, and then we need somebody else, and then Trudeau comes in, and now we're sick of him. It's like, we need somebody else, and now Pierre's gonna, like, it's the same pattern. And if you follow the World Economic Forum, Sustainable Development Goals coming from the United Nations, like, this is oozing out of Pierre Poilievre right now, and for some reason it's really scary, but there is a cult of personality building around Pierre. Pierre Poilievre is pandering to minorities. He is using the same globalist catchphrases as Trudeau, yet people are just forgetting that. They're blinded by their Trudeau hatred, And they're like, we just need to get him out. I don't care if he's softening conservative values, softening Canadian nationalism. I'm going to support him anyway. So I see that trend happening, and I'm like, success to me is calling that out and having people be like, oh, maybe Poilievre could really screw us over and actually be the worst thing ever that happens to Canada because of this cult of personality building around him, right? Because we're so desperate to get rid of Trudeau that we'll take anything. Just get rid of him. And that's dangerous because, we might be hopping out of the frying pan into the fire, so to speak.
Yes, next question.
Do you think Canadians will ever discover that yourself and other Liberal ministers are grossly incompetent?
We've created multi-million-dollar payout packages for the Canadian news media to make sure you, the press, don't ask us any tough questions. Because when you do that, it makes us look bad. It gets Canadians thinking, we don't want that. We want Canadians sedated. We want them to be feeling good. We don't want them to be thinking about, how incompetent we might be. And what's great is with this partnership with the media, over the past 4 years, we've been able to lower the expectations of Canadians and really give them a whole new idea of what leadership looked like.
Right now, I'm focusing on free speech because they've been trying to pass censorship bills for years now. It used to be called Bill C-36. Now it's Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act. It was tabled in February 2024 of this year, and it would be the end of free speech in Canada.
This is a warning. You are about to lose your freedom of speech. Pay close attention.
So I'm putting all of my content effort into that. You can go to savefreespeech.ca to check it out. But, there has been 2 terrible internet bills passed, Bill C-11 and now Bill C-18, and they are like objectively bad legislation. We know this, and there's another one coming down the pipe. And what we've seen with Bill C-11 and Bill C-18 is the Conservative Party, the official opposition, waits till it's too late, and then they start to talk about it. I'm tired of seeing that. So I am creating content now, I'm building the messaging now, making the noise now to build the case against Bill C-63 so everyone knows about it when they try to push this through, because it would be the end of free speech in Canada. Aside from that, because everything comes from free speech, criticizing mass immigration, criticizing, the climate insanity, everything else comes from free speech. And this bill is Orwellian, it's dystopian, it's all of those awful things. So it's to me, it's the most important issue right now that I want people to know about.
Being branded as hateful or a far-right extremist can ruin someone's life and reputation for simply speaking their mind. These are just the non-legal consequences anti-hate uses to intimidate free-thinking Canadian citizens. And if we don't start fighting back, things will get much worse with Bill C-63.
One person can make a huge difference. I mean, Mocha, you're a great example. You're exposing all sorts of high-level corruption in the Canadian landscape, and I don't understand why major outlets don't pick it up. But you're growing in your following, and you're making a difference. You can look at Billboard Chris. He's an individual activist who now is kind of internationally renowned. He met Donald Trump the other day. And that is a great point you bring up, because Canadians feel powerless and hopeless. And the media is really good at convincing them that this whole politics thing, this whole where your country is going thing, nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with anything that you might be able to do. Just sit on the couch, shut up. We got it taken care of. We're telling you the whole story on CBC here, and you can't do anything about it. And it's so ironic, because the international students who protest, the foreign workers protesting, they're not even citizens here, and they're protesting. These people who don't even have citizenship are exercising more civic agency, and they're not even citizens. And then there's so many Canadians who are on the couch complaining, oh, fuck Trudeau, complaining, and they're not even engaging in any sort of civic, civic activity when they could be. It's almost like we've forgotten that we are in a free democracy and that you can make a difference. And it starts by having the bravery to stand up against the status quo, which is politically correct in Canada, and I might get canceled. And that whole attitude has to be completely thrown out, because it does add to this sort of mentality that I can't do anything. Someone's just gonna call me a name. And until more Canadians start to say you know what, F it, I'm just gonna start to speak my mind, or find like-minded people to try and push some idea, some belief to turn this country around, turn it in the, even one small change in the right direction, until more Canadians don't start thinking that they can make a difference, then it's going to be a slow circling the drain like we've been experiencing.
Lies, incompetence, and corruption are becoming way too common in Canadian institutions, and we the people need the right to talk about it.
I'll just say that people see Bill C-63 and they hear about it, and like scared goats when they just like faint. Mm-hmm. That's how a lot of people react. They see what's actually in Bill C-63 and they faint and they say like, no way, that's not going to pass. There's no way it's going to pass, and it could easily pass. It could easily pass, and I'm trying to rationalize people to say, hey, but we can stop it. We need to look at the sort of long-term plan here and just start building the case against it, and to not panic, and to just kind of calmly say we need to reject this bill. Because people try to say, oh, it's virtuous, it's going to help protect kids online. It's total nonsense. It would be the end of free speech in Canada, and we need to do something about that. And if you want to learn more, go to savefreespeech.ca.